Good evening and welcome to Face to Face. I'm your host Niresh Eliathambi. On behalf of the Newsfirst team, welcome to the show. And now, what's going on in politics? Every move of the NPP government is focused on and analysed, micro-analysed. But that's all well and good. However, what's going on with the opposition? All the opposition parties seem to have gone very, very quiet. Too quiet, at least for my liking. Because after all, we need a vibrant opposition in order to provide the checks and balances to the ruling party, the party in power, which, by the way, has a massive mandate. So, all the more reason that the opposition needs to be as vocal as possible. And to discuss what's going on with the opposition, we have with us Dr. Mahim Mendis, no stranger to our program. He is, of course, a working committee member of the SJB, the Samagi Jana Balawekya. Welcome back, Mahim. How are you keeping these days? With the
fine.
Weather is, of course, not treating us well. But what about the storms?
We think positively.
Yes, but what about the storms in our political system right now? What's going on with the SJB? Because we don't hear much from your party. And that's not very good.
All right, from a media point of view, it's nothing but natural that you think like that. You need action. Of course, we also want action. But storms that you're talking about are not unnatural in the context of a well-contested two elections, presidential election and the general election. Well, we see that we need to refocus, strategize how we should move forward. So that the pace of action sometimes will not be to the best satisfaction of dynamic mass media. And Niresh, you are disappointed. Disappointed that there is inaction, as you think, in the opposition ranks. But as for the SJB, we are refocusing, re-strategizing. We are talking internally right now. Lot of internal discussion with regard to how to restructure the party. How can we do things better? Because we saw very clearly that at the presidential election, our leader performed, though he lost. He performed quite well as a defeated candidate, though we expected to win. He very clearly proved that he has the backing of all the communities in the north and east. Of course, the NPP won at the general election. But as a national leader, among the options available for the people between Ranil Wickremesinghe and Anurakumara Dissanayake and the other contestants, very clearly, Mrs. Sajith Premadasa was the choice. The choice. And also in the internal, the center, the central province, and around the country, we saw that communities, Sri Lanka is a heterogeneous, diverse community of people, and a national leader is someone who has the backing of many people representing communities, and we had that. So we are now under this leadership. We are wiser. We are defeated, all right, but we are humble to accept defeat, and our leader is humble enough, unlike many others. Even within our ranks, we see certain variations, but our leader is humble to accept defeat, and he is helping right now in how best we can re-strategize. That's what we can say. So it's internal discussion taking place, and of course, very soon you will see a vibrant action, movement in Parliament, outside Parliament, no doubt about that.
Well, I certainly hope so, for the sake of democracy.
Of course, democracy is number one, second place, number two is democracy, third place is also democracy.
After all, we have had 2/3 going to Parliament, going to one party in Parliament 4 times already. This is the 5th time, and the other 4 times were absolute disasters. The latest was Gotabaya Rajapaksa's regime. So, much as we will give the NPP, when I say we, the public, will give the NPP time and the confidence to carry out their programs, it's always good to have the voices of the opposition in Parliament and outside to keep us informed and to keep the ruling powers that be in check. Don't you?
Very much so, very much so. We firmly believe so.
Right. Now, this 159 seats going to the NPP, it took almost everyone by surprise. Even many NPPers that I have spoken to said, well, we knew we were going to win, but we never dreamt we'd win in such a wholesale fashion. So I'm guessing that within the SJB camp, it was the same feeling. You may have thought that the SJB might win, but even those who thought that the NPP would win wouldn't have thought it would be in such a fashion. So tell me, what was the feeling within the SJB, the rank and file, when the results were coming in and it was just a wholesale sweep? What was the feeling? Was it one of despondency or resignation, or was there a firmness that we have to do better?
You're talking about the presidential election or the general election?
General election.
Because it was, you see, it was a very good fight that was taking place right to the end, and the first time that the second count had to be taken into consideration.
Yes, that's the presidential.
Preferential votes. Now, let's look at it this way. With a different perspective, we are in the post, let's say, after the Aragalaya, the uprising. What did the people really want? The people wanted change. And, well, the intelligentsia, the ordinary people, they were all talking about change as perceived by them. But for the bulk of the population, very clearly, there had to be a difference after this uprising. And they were prepared to consider favorably, positively, an unconventional party, unconventional force, the Janata Vimukti Peramuna led NPP. And I believe that is exactly what happened, because in the context of the Aragalaya, our leader was being principled. He did not want to misuse the gains of the Aragalaya. He stood by the principles of the leaders of the Aragalaya, young men like Vasanta Mudaligi of the IUSF and others, and he did not want to do anything that is that will go against the spirit of what the leaders of the Aragalaya had to say. So whereas Janata Vimukti Peramuna knew how to use the emerging forces to their best satisfaction. They had a different strategy. They were very focused on gaining power. Our leader, being a gentleman politician, was not thinking of how to gain power at that moment. He was thinking in terms of the mandate that should be gained democratically. Whereas a lot of people, even among the professional community, well, not quite, in my opinion, not quite educated on democracy. Maybe they belong to good professions, but not quite educated on democracy, thought that Mr. Sajith Premadasa did the wrong thing by not grabbing power. While Mr. Wickramasinghe, in his own words, in Parliament, he said, I have shown you how to grab power and grip power. Now, the dynamics and the perceptions were different. It looks like very clearly that principled action on the part of Sajith Premadasa as the opposition leader, who did not want to do anything against the spirit of the Aragalaya, was not read properly by the people. The people were angry that he did not grab power like Mr. Ranil Wickramasinghe. So, at this election, what I see is, it is not really Sajith Premadasa's weakness, as some people say, but the public understood this differently. The public thought that the real representatives who will do justice to the uprising is not the person who did not want to take power, but someone who was using, I would say, schemingly, engineering, manipulating the uprising for their benefit. So that is how AKD is not magic. A person who got 375,000 votes at the last elections, presidential election, was able to perform magic in a way by, manipulating, scheming, engineering the matter.
But Mahim, there is a school of thought that says that it wasn't so much the NPP winning it, but the SJB lost it by not gauging the mood of the people, by not understanding what the people actually wanted. So, I mean, the focus perhaps should not be on President AKD, who of course, as a politician, he would do his utmost to win, and he did win a fairly large mandate in the general election, and as you said, in the presidential it was touch and go, but of course still he won. But isn't it the reality that the SJB didn't realize what the people, the feelings of the people actually were?
Well, the thing is, as I said, for a population not quite, you see, I'm not undermining the Sri Lankan people, but very clearly Sri Lanka has a problem in even the school system, not educating people on democratic rights and obligations.
But
the
Mahim,
principles.
isn't this I mean, you can look at most democracies around the world, the United States, the United Kingdom, India, and so on and so forth. The voters are not as perceptive and as educated as we would like them to be. I mean, look at the UK. Voters voted to leave the European Union, Brexit. And now, when the economic, the adverse economic impacts are upon them, such as the rising cost of living, because of the impact on trade with the EU, the voters are dissatisfied, and they ended up booting that particular party out of power. So
those are political choices.
Yes, but now when you say that our voters did not understand the gentlemanly politics of Sajith Premadasa, wasn't it asking for too much for them to understand
Yes,
this?
well, that is a mistake. We now see that mistake in the sense we did not want to sell the uprising. Mr. Wickramasinghe wanted to grab power somehow. On the other side, we saw the Janata Vimukti Peramuna trying to almost forcibly take ownership of the people's uprising. SJB was not prepared to do that, and SJB was in harmony with the expectations of the leaders of the Aragalia. Their proposals were all accepted by Sajith Premadasa, but in the context of political power, gaining political power, well, I would say that the people thought differently, and whatever gentlemanly approach, I'm not saying that we are now regretting we didn't grab power like Mr. Wickramasinghe. That's not what I'm saying. But we made a mistake in the sense we were mistaken with regard to the idea the people had with regard to gaining power, because the people wanted somehow to grab power, and that's Mr. Wickramasinghe did, and he became a hero at that time. And even people who wanted to, let's say the JVP, that wanted to damage the parliament, that particular night, you will remember, they were trying to attack the parliament and all that sort of thing. Well, those sentiments were more heroic in the minds of the people than what Mr. Sajith Premadasa was trying to do. But he was reminding the people that transfer of political power needs to be in line with the highest principles of democracy.
Now,
Right.
wasn't there also a miscalculation?
We did not understand that properly.
Wasn't there also a miscalculation as to the impact of former President Wickramasinghe on both the presidential election and to a lesser extent perhaps on the general election, but certainly on the presidential election. The fact that the right-wing vote, the centre and right-wing vote would be so divided, between the SJB and the gas cylinder. Didn't it come home to the SJB that this was now a losing proposition?
Yes, so grabbing power, Mr. Wickramasinghe was able to consolidate himself and answer some of the needs of the people, and bring a form of stability that the people expected. But anyway, we see that at the end of the day, the people were not impressed about what he was trying to do and his intentions with regard to the future of the land, and that is why he got defeated. And Mr. Premadasa performed remarkably, comparatively much better than the man who tried to be a hero grabbing power.
Yes, but again, how would you now answer this situation? Because even now, today, you have the NPP, which now has a very solid vote base, at least for several years, and then you have your vote base, which is still splintered. There is the SJB, and you still have the Mr. Wickramasinghe and the SLPP members, sort of moving around, and they will simply grab some of the votes which should go to the SJB. So isn't there, now you spoke of restructuring, but what's the strategy to unify the right-wing bloc?
Well, much depends. Right now, much depends on the performance of the government. We saw what happened to Mr. Gotabaya Rajapaksa. The same expectations were there. The same people, literally speaking, the same people who voted for Malimawa voted for Gotabaya Rajapaksa. This is a Malimawa support base, is not the JVP support base, is the vote that Mr. Gotabaya Rajapaksa got, and obviously that vote was an anti-Sajith vote in any case. And these are people who had formed governments before. And Rajapaksas and Anukumara Disanayak and Vijitha Herath and others have been in government holding ministerial positions, and they were able to relate much better to Malimawa than to Sajith Premadasa. That much I can say. And now, the same people, I do not think, are so impressed about what AKD, the president, and the government is doing with regard to what they told the people to gain power. Very clearly.
Mahim, let me interrupt you just for a moment, because we need to take a short commercial break. Don't go away. We'll be right back.
A trusted place for your fixed deposit. Valuable FD, a symbol of stability.
ජනප්‍රිය ගායන ශිල්පී මදුෂාන් නානායක්කාරගේ නවතම ගීතය නොදැනීම Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube ඇතුළු ඔබගේ ප්‍රියතම සංගීත සේවාවන් හරහා රස විඳින්න.
M Entertainments.
Step away from the conventional art of storytelling. Get ready for the Newsfirst Breakfast Rundown with me, Zulfikar Farzan.
First in your heart, Sri Lanka's #1, the Sirasa Media Network.
ජාතික මෙහෙවරින් අපි කතා බහ කරන්නේ පුරුෂ පාර්ශවයට කාන්තා පාර්ශවයට වෙනසක් නැතුව ආයුර්වේදයට අනුව ලස්සන වෙන්නේ කොහොමද කියලා.
හොඳම මොයිස්චරයිස් එක තමයි කොමඩු.
යම්කිසි වයස් මට්ටම් වලට පැමිණෙනකොට ඇති වෙන බෝන් නොවන රෝග තත්ත්වයන් තුලදී කොයි ආකාරයෙන්ද ඇස ආරක්ෂා කරගන්නේ?
බහුලවම අන්ධභාවයට පත්වන රෝගී තත්ත්ව ගත්තොත් ඇත්තටම ලෝකේ ලංකාවේ දෙකම නම්බර් 1 ඇත්තටම තියෙන සුද ඇහි සුද.
නිරාමිෂ සිතුවිලි වලින් තමයි පිබිදෙන්නේ. ඒනට ප්‍රශ්නේ ටික වෙලාවක් යනකොට වෙනස් පැත්තකට යන්න පුළුවන්.
මූලික අරමුණ සියදිවි හානි වැළැක්වීම වුණාට ඕනම කෙනෙකුට ඕනම ප්‍රශ්නයක් ඕනම ගැටලුවක් ගැන කතා කරන්න අපිත් එක්ක යොමු වෙන්න පුළුවන්.
ජාතික මෙහෙවර සතියේ දිනවල උදෑසන 11ට.
Welcome back to Face to Face. We are having a very interesting conversation with Dr. Mahim Mendis, who is, of course, a member of the working committee of the SJB. Now, Mahim, I have to ask you what is going on with the national list of the SJB, because nothing seems very clear. There seems to be a lot of infighting. The SJB, of course, has a coalition. There seems to be a lot of arguing, demanding going on among the coalition members. What's the situation as of today, as you know it?
I'm a working committee member. I'm a nationalist candidate. Am I fighting? Well, I don't think the cultured people in politics in the SJB who are in the national list are fighting for places. They are not fighting for places. They honor the party's policies. They expect the party leadership to take the best possible decision with regard to the 5 slots available. The dynamics are different when it comes to a defeated party, defeated even by 1 vote. And the 29 members of the national list in any party, NPP or our party or whatever party, they are theoretically, well, they are of equal dignity and status. They are equal dignity and status, but when they have only 5 slots to be filled, obviously the party now, the dynamics are different for a defeated party in the sense when they have only 5 to be filled, they will have to carefully think as to who will fit the bill, who will be able to do justice among the national list candidates of the 29 who will be able to do justice to the party in the context of the electoral defeat. So I firmly believe that more than a massive fight of the type that the media is trying to portray, there is a situation where a quick decision cannot be taken. NPP had 18. Challenge much lesser than what we have right now. So the 5 members will have to be members who will contextually be relevant for the current political challenges and realities confronting the SJB, and that is why there is a delay. Of course, people are anxious. The people who voted for us, independent critics, they all the media like to see this happening very fast. But have a little patience. I think the party leadership, as I always say, Mr. Premadasa is a principled man. Being principled, well, the opponents will try to write at the Aragalaya, they try to say that he's a weak leader. But he didn't grab power. He's not in a hurry. Right? The whole country knows that Mr. Sajid Premadasa is not in a hurry to do certain things. When it comes to political power, he wants to do the right thing. And in this matter also, as a national list candidate and as a working committee member of the SJB and as a member of the academia, well, most of the national list candidates are patiently waiting for the party leadership to take the best possible action, best possible decision that will bring stability to the party.
Now, when you say the party leadership will take a decision, who's in that leadership? Now, you're in the working committee, so it's not the working committee which is going to take the decision. It would be Mr. Sajid Premadasa, and who else is in that?
Well, obviously the chairman of the party, the general secretary of the party, the leader of the party, and those who hold very specific positions. Well, the party has office bearers. Not all working committee members are are office bearers. So they obviously have a greater say. And the party leader and the chairman, Imtiaz Bakimaka, who is also a thorough gentleman, greatly respected by the people, even opponents, as someone with a very reasonable and insightful mind. And I think they are the key people who will now have to decide. The chairman of the party, the leader of the party, the general secretary of the party, they obviously will have to decide. The final decisions will be theirs.
Now, you speak of this structure, which is quite a normal structure for a political party. But earlier you spoke of, after this defeat, that there are discussions and moves to restructure, in which Mr. Premadasa is also very supportive. So what are the options open? How would you restructure? Where did the SJB go wrong? Was there something, is it more at the center? Was it in the strategy? Or was it in the grassroots level organizing?
When you say restructuring of a party, very clearly, it's a peculiar situation for every single political party. Now, Pohottuwa formed a party, the SLFP leaders formed Pohottuwa, and they had different challenges. They had no problem with infrastructure. They had adequate finances, and they were able to get along with putting the structures in the way they have put. In the context of the SJB, which is a brand new party, a party that came into being in 2020 without even an office, without any infrastructure, without a place to go, had different challenges. So when we say restructure the party, the 4 years that have passed, we see that certain areas, let's say the youth movement, the women's movement, the trade union movement, more specifically, as I say, the youth movement, within the party structure, need to be very much better than what it is. And also I see certain challenges coming from the ideological frontier, because we have formed a party which is essentially a social democratic party rooted, in the convictions of the party leader and the founder, Sajith Premadasa. He is a social democrat. But we have brought into the party, or the people who came from the UNP are not essentially people who subscribe radically to social democratic principles. There are center-right supporters, there are centrists, and center-left. Now, there is always a conflict. There is always a conflict, like in the Labour Party of England, various other democratic parties. We are not hiding those problems. Ideologically, I think restructuring also means that our people need to be, I was talking about lack of political education in the country with regard to principles of politics, as to what neoliberalism is all about, what social democracy is all about, what Marxism is all about, what has fallen flat, what has become invalid, what is the global, the global trends, what ideological positions are stronger. These matters need discussion and education, especially for the younger generation of people of the SJB, because we see that some do not go beyond talking about a social market economy. There are key leaders of the party, apart from Mr. Sajith Premadasa, who confine themselves to a social market economy. But social market economy, I must emphasize, is just one element of the social democratic, social, political, economic, cultural and moral order that has to be understood. Mr. Sajith Premadasa is a firm advocate, proponent of social democratic principles, but to what extent some of the others have subscribed to those ideas, is something that we see needs education and discussion. So that's an area. Ideological positioning of a party is a very important matter. Nothing can be without a precise, a formidable ethos. Ethos is important for anything under the sun. Ethos is important for an organization. For your organization to function, a very clear ethos is required, even for a media institution. So SJB's ethos has to be more formidably expressed and to the people outside and also people within.
Now, when any organization is doing badly, whether it's in politics or in the private sector or wherever, one of the key factors that is examined is the leadership. If your company isn't doing well, your CEO may be shown the door. Your board of directors may be dismissed and a new board appointed. Your senior management team could be reshuffled. New people brought in, old people sent out. That's normal. In the case of the SJB, is there any discussion going on about the leadership, the present leaders in that structure that you mentioned? Now, they've been through 2 defeats. That's Mr. Premadasa and the office bearers. Is this leadership team going to be the same one?
Let us be realistic. When we say 4 defeats, the first time the SJB fought an election was immediately after breaking away from the UNP. A party, a group of people who had absolutely nothing with regard to the infrastructure, even though our symbol is a telephone. I think we didn't even have a proper, office telephone maybe. What I'm saying is, with zero infrastructure, we started a party and immediately went into an election. And we performed extremely well. Now that leader who broke away from the UNP and its neoliberal policies came to be well endorsed by the people of this country, reducing Mr. Wickramasinghe to nothing, to zero. At this election, the presidential election, true that we lost, and I also explained the dynamics that led to losing of the election in the aftermath of the uprising. But Mr. Premadasa was not wiped out. He polled with the second vote, preferential votes counted, approximately 4.5 million votes. That is not wiping out a leader in the way what happened to any other party, including Pohottuwa. The people of this country undoubtedly respect Sajith Premadasa as a principal leader. That voter base was not there, one would say, at the general election. Well, the electoral organizers have to tap themselves and ask what's wrong with themselves. They have to organize their electorates more formidably. I'm saying that as a working committee member of the Samagi Jana Balawegaya. Electoral organizers, the Asana Samvidayakas, Pradhana Samvidayakas, have to understand that they need to do their job much better. Maybe they have distanced themselves from the people. If we are humble enough as SJB members, well, though our leader was popular in Colombo in the general election, out of 200,000 votes, why did he poll 148,000? Well, people like him. There is no case of people rejecting him, but that is not adequate for us to win an election, right? So, wherever the party lost, we are in the Colombo district, wherever the party lost, outside Colombo, poor electoral organizing caused defeat, and we have to be humble enough to accept that. Restructuring of the party from the perspective of a working committee member, in my case, I want this party to have more formidable electoral organizers. We fielded very dynamic people who even had the guts to resign from their university jobs, like Dr. Nadish De Silva, PhD in international trade law from Japan, was prepared to 37 years old, former head of the law department of Open University. He resigned from his post and went as an amateur Adunika candidate in Radgama in the Gaul district. And he polled, I think, close to 10,000 votes without any electoral experience. He was able to do that. So we need to have dynamic organizers who can take the fight not only during election time. What's the use of organizing during election time? I think we can learn a little bit from the victorious party, NPP, if we are humble enough. They have been doing their grassroots work much better. With humility, we are prepared to learn even from the people who are victorious. We have to be realistic. Our leader is realistic enough to understand that restructuring has to take place and more formidable organizing and organizers have to be there.
But Mahim, there's another election coming up, the local government election, which we expect within the next 3 months or so, that has to be held. I mean, it is the right of the citizenry in this country, which of course was denied them by the Wickramasinghe regime. But now there is a very firm Supreme Court judgment on that. And the NPP has said that they will be having this local government election early next year. Now, what's the position of the SJB in all this? Because now you say you need to revamp the grassroots organizing, but does that mean that you're going to reshuffle the organizers, or are you going with the same organizers but a different, more dynamic strategy?
You see, as a party in opposition, remember that it is the SJB that even went to courts with regard to local government elections. And thanks be to the inspiring leadership of Sajith Premadasa, we were able to get a Supreme Court verdict on that, favorable to the electoral democratic process. Just like the case that people like me filed with regard to bankrupting of the economy. It is all because of the inspiring leadership of Sajith Premadasa. All that happened. Now, with regard to this matter, we are quite mindful of the fact that it is a formidable challenge. Restructuring in the aftermath of an electoral defeat is a serious matter. And as I said, our electoral organizers need to be much better. They need to be closer to the people, I said. And we need to have such people. And where we have performed badly, we need to make amendments, we need to make corrections radically. And that is a challenge. Because it is unfortunately, when it comes to even parliamentary elections, or now we are talking about the local government elections, it is not easy to attract the best possible candidates. And it's a tremendous sacrifice on the part of top professionals. I was talking about PhDs, top professionals. People who have proved themselves in their chosen fields, like in Singapore, ideally, need to be brought into all these levels of governance. But it is not easy. So, especially for a defeated party, it is not easy to get the best possible people. So we are mindful of all that, and at the same time, well, we are hopeful that there will be good candidates in the restructuring process before the elections. We are hopeful that some of the young candidates who contested may opt to be in the local government race, we hope, and perform better.
But Mahim, has the SJB actually sat down and looked at the grassroots level situation with regard to the local government polls? Because at the last election, the general election, out of the 160 electorates in the country, 151 were won by the NPP, which shows a tremendously strong grassroots level of support, of organizing. So in such a situation, with the local government elections, what would the SJB be satisfied with? What's its target? How many of the local government bodies do you realistically expect to win?
You see, as a party, you asked me this question before the general elections, how hopeful we are in winning this election, how hopeful we happen to be in both elections. And I always very positively answered that we will win, we will work to win, and we believe in the working committee and in our party there are people who work to win, who try to do their very best, and there's no doubt about that. So though this government, the NPP, has got 2/3 majority and 159 members of parliament and presidential power, we have not in any way given up our struggle. We want to prove ourselves better. We want to see that we will get the best possible deal in the local government elections. No doubt about that. We are not talking as if we are going to be defeated in the forthcoming provincial local government elections. We are trying to, we are doing our best, and we assure the support base that we are doing our best. Obviously, much depends, as I earlier said, the level of organizing at electoral level. Some have proved themselves in difficult places. In Muttur, in Mena, we won. Why did we win? Obviously, there is something to do with the strength of the electoral organizers. So, with all constraints, we hopefully, that things will turn out well, and we look for victory. Obviously, we look for victory, though it's a challenge. It's a challenge straight after the presidential election where they have got 2/3 majority.
Yes, but you do have about 3 or 4 months.
Of course.
There is a gap.
But this government, very clearly, this government has gone back on its promises. Even the poor children, the children who are expected, the bulk of the population of this country living below poverty line, they all want their children educated properly, and in a country where there are massive socioeconomic disparities, and the children are denied equality and equity in the school system. Even the 5th standard scholarship exam has been abolished, and little concession that they had.
I think the matter of the exam is before court at the moment.
Yeah, well...
so we'll have a decision
yes,
on that.
Yeah, well, but see, when the examination paper leakage came, what is the position of the Minister of Education? She took the position that the questions that had leaked, well, should be given the full marks, and marking should continue. But at that time, did she know that she is going to, the Minister of Education, the government is going to abolish the 5th standard scholarship examination? Well, this is not a government that has stood by its words up to now. Whether it be the IMF, whether it be other sectors, whether it be the Easter bomb, whatever it may be. We don't see formidable, radical commitment to words uttered in order to come to power. These are things that should be taken into consideration by the voting public, though these people got 2/3 majority. Remember that this is not a government during the month or two that they have been who honored the verdict of the people.
And one final question, Mahim. With the local government elections, we haven't seen any political party launch a campaign yet. Everybody is still sort of recovering from the last election. But when can we see the SJB officially launching and start canvassing for the local government polls?
Right. So first of all, elections have to be declared.
Well, yes, but you know it's coming.
Yes, exactly. Thanks be to the SJB, fighting on that also. The elections will definitely be coming. Well, wait and see. We will give the best possible fight. And we want to ensure, right now, as I said, let the people know that this government has failed to live by its own promises. That's what I want to emphasize. And we look forward, hopefully, for betterment of the country through a principled SJB administration. Sooner or later it will happen.
And I'm afraid we are out of time. Thank you very much to Dr. Mahim Mendis, member of the working committee of the SJB, for being with us this evening. And thank you to you at home for watching. Don't go away because the news is coming up next. Have a good evening.